Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to take a look at cannabis brands in highest demand in California. To do that is Kat Hart. She's a cannabis warrior, a veteran, best-selling author of the Itty Bitty Marijuana Manual. Kat, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love being on your show.
All right, so you can pick up your book on Amazon or Kindle or any legitimate bookstore.
Yeah. Well, you might be able to find it on Black Market. I use copy.
Hopefully the library's got it.
Sign one for me. There's some signed ones out there. So
ooh, I need to get that signed.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get you one. All
right. Well, according to benzinga.com, there's some cannabis brands in high demand. Ganja Goddess is an online cannabis shopping delivery brand operating in California. So they had an awards ceremony recently. There's 150 brands that were considered, and there were some categories with some winners. And we're just going to kind of highlight the categories and compare that to some of the markets. You've worked in the cannabis industry for over half a decade, including your spiritual retreat that you're doing in Washington, which is the Washington Spiritual Retreat on Facebook at WA Spiritual Retreats. That's coming up in May. Sounds like a really good event. You guys should check it out. You'll get $50 off if you mention the Talking Hedge.
Your loyal listeners, yes.
And so some top insights to the awards are that flower continues to dominate the statewide sales, that edibles and vape and tinctures are popular. Sublinguals saw the largest growth, 400% year over year, and edibles witnessed a 236% increase in orders. Yep. Pretty similar to pretty much every other rollout we've seen, including Washington State, where you and I are based out of. Yep. Pretty much no different than any other rollout, including Canada.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I'm actually surprised. I mean, I'm assuming is liquids under the edibles as well. Would that be?
It's got to be somewhere between sublinguals and edibles and tinctures. It's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, because those are on the rise. Like the THC sodas and things like that. Those are shooting up as well. But I am not surprised to see the edibles. You know what really surprises me? I'm gonna be honest. The sublinguals. Logically it doesn't, but to actually see it on the list when you've been in cannabis for over a decade, to see a sublingual, or even the patches. I love the patches, but it's almost like mind-blowing to me. It's like, wow, we're there. We're actually there.
So I was talking to Lofa Tatupu, retired Seahawk player and co-founder of Zone In CBD. And so he had mentioned that his capsules aren't selling as well as anticipated because people want to get away from the pills.
Yep.
So they like the tincture he has. It tastes a little bit like an olive oil. I don't mind it at all, but some people think it's a little bit too oily or whatnot. But I think that the higher milligrams that you're seeing in a tincture versus an edible, like take Canada, for example, 10 milligram maximum on an edible, forget about it. No one's even touching that. But if you can get a 500 milligram tincture, 1,000 milligram tincture, that concentrated version is going to be a lot better for some people, especially if they don't really understand that it's not just about the percentage of milligrams. It's about, is it full spectrum, versus just an isolate that we call hot dog water on this podcast.
Right.
So there's different versions of what people should be having, but there's that lack of education. We kind of mentioned that offline, that educating is really important, but if you have to educate and then sell, there's nothing more difficult than trying to get somebody's money when they don't understand what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I use vitamin C as an analogy, where you know what vitamin C is and you have a trusted brand. So you take it, you have no effects, you have no idea what it's doing, but you trust it. Absolutely. And so that will become the norm eventually, but it's going to take a while.
God, it's hard. It's so weird to even think about, like, a branded cannabis. You know what I mean? I mean, when I started, it was probably about 11 years ago, legit. I felt like a criminal. I mean, it was medically legal in Washington State. I was a veteran looking for support for my health, and I legit felt like a criminal. Like I felt like I was sneaking around doing really naughty things, and I was always, I would say for the most part, I was working within the line of the law, because there still was a lot of gray area. But it's kind of like the Wild West for a little while, and then all of a sudden it's like the corporations come in, and it's like now all this stuff's happening. So equally, it's been beautiful to watch the growth and the acceptance and people actually having access to these holistic medications. But what's disturbing is, again, the corporate coming in and the takeover and really even making it the synthesized versions. Why can't we stay natural? I really, really, really would like to stay
Marinol
natural.
is a terrible product.
It's killing people.
Marinol makes people lethargic and sleepy. A friend of mine that passed away
Yes.
from MS hated it. He'd prefer a joint. Marinol is just not a substitute. That's synthetic garbage.
And it hurts people.
There's no place for it.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. There's a reason that cannabis flower was #1 on the list, and it continues to be #1. It's a holistic plant that was put on this planet to help us, and it's the only profile that fits our cannabinoid system the best. I mean, it literally fits that profile perfectly to help our pain receptors, to help our pain bodies in our life. You know, I mean, to help inflammation, to help pain, to alleviate a lot of these symptoms organically. You know, and as adults, we should be allowed to have those choices. I mean, just give me the choice, you know? Just give me the choice. I want the choice.
Well, it's going to take some professionalizing to normalize it. I have friends, you know, that sneak around still and don't tell anybody because they're worried about the stigma. And I'm like,
Right.
you know, you go out and get sloppy drunk and you don't care at all, but you're worried about what people think about you when you smoke cannabis.
Right.
You're 40 something years old. And I just don't understand why people care, which is why I love the aspect of this Washington spiritual retreat that you're doing, because you give zero fucks.
Right.
You know, and it takes a lot of people in their 70s or even 80s before they realize that they should have cared less about what people think. And so, you know, I
went through a lot of trauma, Josh. Honestly, suffering is where you find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you cannot find the highest and best version of you until you're completely broke down to fuck all nothing. When you are a bloody mass of human condition laying on your floor and you literally see no way out, that's your birth. That is your rebirth. And if I can help people to understand that through that suffering and through that pain and through that bloody pulp of mass person on the floor, that is your strongest point ever. Because that is your rebirth in an opportunity to take everything from the past, take every lesson out of it, and then create a new version of you in the strongest and best. I don't know if have you heard of David Goggins?
Not until you mentioned him earlier today.
Oh my God, this guy, if you haven't heard David Goggins, Goggins, please look this dude up. He has changed my life completely. Recently, I just heard him say that if you went up to heaven and sat with God and had a clipboard, basically, and he went through your life and started saying, well, this was your potential versus this is what you actually did. I'm glad I'm halfway through my life. I'm glad I'm in my 40s and I still have another 30, 40, 50 years to go because I need it. I have so much more that I want to do. I'm not willing to waste one more day. I'm not willing to waste one more breath on what's not working. I'm not willing to waste my energy on toxic people, relationships, businesses, anything like that. I am completely committed to getting myself into a state emotionally and mentally where I am living my best life every single day and I'm waking up and kicking ass every single day. And I really hope that inspires other people to do the same thing. But here's the thing. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so I live my version of my best life. I'm doing it because I am not going to die with regret. And I'm not going to sit in front of my higher power and the person who literally gave me the right to be here and say, no, I didn't live up to my fullest potential. No, I didn't believe in myself fully. No, I didn't allow myself to break down to that bloody pulp of mass and build myself back up. No, I didn't get back up. I stayed down. That's not going to be me. I am going to be the person that check. Got you, God. What else? In fact, I get extra credit because there's a star at the bottom for stuff that you didn't even expect me to do. That is going to be me when I get to go. I have, the beautiful gates. That's going to be me. I want an asterisk by my name, not because of like the Astros asterisk, but I want an asterisk for extra credit in my life.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are using cannabis, whether it's THC or CBD, to holistically heal their bodies, and I
Absolutely.
believe that eventually, the mind follows, whether that's
Yeah.
spiritually or just a larger, higher understanding. Some people are using edibles, some are using concentrates, vape pens. So, looking at some of these winners from Benzinga.com, the Ganja Goddess Awards, the 2019 Edible Award winners were gummies. And then a 3-to-1 CBD to THC ratio for gummies, and then more gummies. So it looks like
Yummy,
gummies
yummy,
just,
yummies.
yeah. And in Washington, those are illegal because they
Right.
target kids, which Washington is a petri dish experiment. It's probably
Oh,
the worst state to do business in as it pertains to cannabis.
I
Gummies
could
are
not
illegal
agree more.
because they're attracting kids, and yet we have pink bubblegum vodka
Right.
available. And so it's incredibly hypocritical, considering that the Liquor and Cannabis Board manages both sides to that.
Well, cotton candy, everything. There's cotton candy, everything out there. You know what I mean? I don't know, like, well, there's cotton candy flavored liquor. There's, you know what I mean? There's berry flavored everything. It's like all these drinks nowadays. And I mean, the alcohol is, I mean, they even had to, revamp the cigarettes campaigns because they were worried that they were targeting them kids. And
Mhm.
like, we use the coronavirus. A couple people have died. What about all the people that died from alcoholism or cigarettes or anything like that? We still have zero deaths from cannabis. We still have zero problems with using CBD. I mean, I literally get my best ideas when I'm stoned in the shower. When I don't know why, but when I'm naked in water and stoned, my mind is like I'm connected to the universe and I get all these amazing ideas. Like, that is, to me, I think that's the greatest gift that I can give my own body and my own brain. I love being able to put myself in another state. The thing I like about edibles, though, is it's sustained. Where if you smoke, it's a little bit shorter term. But with edibles, I love the sustained feeling that I can have for a couple of hours and keep it at that nice, copacetic level. It's just kind of nice and even. So I
Yeah, it's
really
hard to
like.
let your mind float and meditate and be in the present when your neurons are misfiring or your
Right.
body's in constant pain. So a lot of people are using Rick Simpson oil or other concentrates. So from this 2019 Ganja Goddess Concentrate Award winners, you have some strong oil. You've got shatter, a live resin, which is
Yep.
great. And then there's
Great
also some
pie.
hash as the
Yep.
winner, which I
Good.
love hash.
Yay. Hash is on the list.
I'm super
Yay.
old school. I like that
Me
full spectrum
too.
hash. I didn't really know why until I started learning more about what was all involved with hash and getting that full spectrum with a lot of terpenes and a lot of good stuff. And it's all funky and aromatic. And yeah, I'm a big fan of keef and hash and even live resins. Great.
I was lucky enough to actually get real hash out of Amsterdam in the 90s, like the
Mm.
actual strip sticky hash. I was in the Air Force, and so I took a vacation, and I went up to Amsterdam, and I had a great
I
time.
kept smoking Lebanese and Moroccan hash while I was in Amsterdam. I was like, which one's better? I don't know. I don't know. I like it both.
Moroccan,
Yeah.
Moroccan.
So of course you got a pre-roll category. Pre-rolls are always the number one SKU. I think concentrates as a whole, as a segment, is outselling flower and pre-rolls in general now as it kind of skyrockets in sales. But as
Is
a
it really?
individual SKU, pre-rolls are selling at a phenomenal rate. And to my
Right.
surprise, white women 50 and over are the number one demographic buying pre-rolls. I
Yeah.
find interesting. Maybe it's a matter of convenience. Maybe it's still that
Yes.
stigma where they can smoke it, throw it away and be like, I don't smoke. I
Yeah.
don't know what the decision making is behind that. I just know that the stats are there that they're selling a lot. And so there's some Acapulco Gold, which is super old school.
Ooh.
And again, a 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio
Wow.
is a winner, along with
Beautiful.
a holiday edition. It's a Banana OG cross with Miss USA. Not really sure what either of those are, but it definitely sounds interesting.
It's nice to
California
see that
is
CBD on there.
Yeah, California is an interesting state because they tend to lead popular cultivars. So about 6 months after it becomes popular in California, Denver, and all of Colorado picks it up, and then
And it leaks
Washington,
into other
a few months
places, right?
later, we figure out what's popular and we pick that up. Wedding cake right now is really popular. So
Ooh,
California is
California's so progressive.
yeah, California is definitely leading the trends with cannabis, as they do with a lot of regulations like automotive and everything else. So vape pens and cartridges are no different. There's a hybrid and a sativa, and then another indica that won that category. Um, Incredibly convenient. The top two factors for decision making at any industry is convenience and price. So cannabis is no different. Cartridges, you pick it up. You don't need a lighter. You don't need to look like a crackhead with a glass pipe or anything. You just take it, you inhale it. Kind of looks like a regular vaporizer, for tobacco or whatever. But nonetheless, it's all about convenience.
I think that's the stats for the women too, like you were talking about. I think you were dead on. I think it's just easy. Honestly, I'm a disabled veteran, so I have a pretty good supply for cannabis, organically. I still go into the stores, and one of the first things I do, grab a pre-roll. I'm in the 40, club, but I'm close to that demographic, and honestly, it's convenience, easy. And I love to roll. I'm a really good roller. I can roll the crap out of a joint, but I love being able to just pick one up and just take it home.
Me too. Actually, blunts are my guilty pleasure. I haven't smoked blunts that not quite as much this year, but yeah, still my guilty pleasure.
I'm not even a tobacco girl, and I know blunts are my favorite.
I'm not either. I don't. That's why I say it's my guilty pleasure. I don't understand why I like it. It's just
I'm
just
right there with you, brother. I totally get it.
Tinctures and sublinguals, though, I'm starting to really kind of pick up. I've been testing out this CBD from Zone In, from Lofa Tatupu's company. So I've got a 30-day supply of the tincture and the pills, and I noticed that I am smoking a lot less. I was in hurry up and wait mode. I had 3 different projects that were taking about a year to come to fruition, between the World Trade Center's export store, an artificial intelligence-based trading algorithm, and then an airline in Canada transporting plant products. And so, of course, everything just starts going all at the same time,
right.
And so I was smoking maybe 3 blunts a day. I smoked a pound and a half, almost 2 pounds last year, almost 200 blunts. And that was a lot. It's kind of, but I realized that when I started taking this tincture, my desire to smoke stopped. Like, I don't even smoke during the day, which is really, really weird to look at my Fitbit and my sleep tracking and look at how much deep sleep, light sleep, and REM, and the different sleep cycles as it's crazy. So I'm going to do a little podcast on that down the road when I get all the data put together.
Yeah.
But I attribute it to the tinctures during the day to reduce that anxiety I have of like, I want to do this now, let's work. And so it's kind of like slows me down, puts me in the present, makes me focused and zoned in. So some of the winners for the tinctures and sublinguals were a Royal Mint spray. There was another extract THC rich tincture, and then another 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio tincture.
I just love seeing the CBD on these. I love it. I love the fact that their CBDs are on these winners.
I take a 20-to-1 from a local company called Green Revolution. I think they're a really good company, one of the better ones in this state. They've put a lot of energy and focus into their edibles and their tinctures, and even made a custom joint rolling machine. So yeah, I really like what they're doing. I enjoy their 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio. Take one of those in the morning, and it puts me through the entire day without even thinking about smoking. It's also because I'm incredibly busy, but it helps with the pain. It helps with the anxiety, and keeps me present.
Yeah, I like Green Compass Global, smartcbd.greencompassglobal.com. I like them. They're an organic, family-owned company out of the East Coast, and they're not local to us here in Washington. However, the time that they've put in for research is very impressive. They're actually working with government officials on all of the regulations for organic hemp fields and everything else, because the regulations haven't been rolled out yet. And so they're working with them on the regulations, and they are already growing far superior in terms of organic growth, and their family generations of farmers from many, many generations. And so I really like them, just as my own personal choice.
So Topicals are up next. You mentioned transdermal patches earlier.
Love
So there's a
it.
Mary's Medicinal Transdermal Indica THC patch,
Yes.
another one from Mary's Medicinal Sativa, and another one from Mary's Medicinal
came in all
CBN,
So
which is
beautiful to
interesting.
see.
So CBN is kind of what an old flower would degrade into. CBN is kind of what makes you sleepy and tired at night. So it's obviously a good
Oh,
one.
the mycene or whatever? You're talking
Is it
about
myrcene?
mycene or something like that.
Yeah. So I use a transdermal patch when I climb this Space Needle, and there's 55 stories. I did it in 10 minutes, 10 seconds.
Climbed the Space Needle?
Yeah, there's stairs, not physically climbing, but there's actually stairs you can climb 55 stories. And I'm no athlete. It was for a charity race. And the only way I was able to do that is with a transdermal patch.
Right.
I had intermittent, moments of pain, like going up and down my spine, and then it went away. Had I not had that transdermal patch, I don't think I would have been able to complete that charity run at all. So I'm a big fan of transdermal patches.
Oh, me too. The Green Compass carries the transdermal, but yeah, I walked up part of the Eiffel Tower when I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Germany for a while, and that was terrifying. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you walked up the Space Needle, because that seems, I don't know. I mean, I know the Eiffel Tower is a lot higher, but I didn't walk to the top. I just walked to the observation level at the bottom, and that was just terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was running. I wasn't really paying attention about the scenery or anything. Yeah. I was trying to compete, and there's a lot of people who did it quicker than me. 10 minutes was fast for me, but not fast enough to place anywhere. But it was an interesting race nonetheless. So yeah, I attribute that to
firefighter challenge where they run up the building or something like that.
Yeah. So the Columbia Tower is the tallest building in Seattle, 72 floors, and I will hard pass on that. No, thank you. I would need a lot more than just a transdermal patch for that. They're going to have to feed me an edible and carry me home. Yeah. So the last category for the 2019 Ganja Goddess Awards is a CBD category. So they've got some gummies, a 3-to-1 CBD to THC ratio, as well as dark chocolate bar, a 1-to-1 ratio, and then a cinnamon mint 1-to-1 ratio. So interesting enough, in the CBD category, it all had THC in it.
Very nice. Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? The entourage effect is when you take CBD and THC. And so that's able to have more of a bioavailability as it kind of soaks into your CB1, CB2 receptor cells for pain and inflammation. A lot of really good information from Dr. Ethan Russo on that topic. I have to take a look at what he's got to say on that. But I would highly recommend having a 20-to-1, and so you have at least some THC to get that full bioavailability without being too impaired, if you will. It's got a lot less psychoactive effects for 20-to-1.
Now, have you just told your listeners about the difference between isolate and full spectrum? I'm sure that they understand that the CBD isolate is
a little bit, a little bit, yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that from your own perspective on isolate, broad spectrum, full spectrum?
Honestly, I think that it's important for people to know that there are two distinct. There's more, but distinctly on the market right now, there's two distinct. There's CBD isolate and there's full spectrum. CBD isolate specifically means that the CBD has been isolated from everything else. So yes, the THC is taken out, and a whole mess of other cannabinoids are also taken out. So the full spectrum is exactly that. It's low level of THC. However, you have all your CBD, CBN, CBG, CBD. You have all your CB cannabinoids in there. With the CBD isolate, you have the one cannabinoid isolated. Yes, it's fantastic for inflammation. Yes, it's fantastic for pain. And it's still not going to give you the relief. So if you have any type of severe ailment that you're fighting, like cancer, MS, fibromyalgia, anything like that, you're going to want to go with the full spectrum. If you have drug testing involved, you're a police officer, you're a public servant, you're a truck driver, CDL license, anything like that, you're going to want to stick with the CBD isolate because it has everything taken out of it other than just the CBD.
Love it. Thanks for explaining that. That pretty much wraps up the cannabis brands in highest demand, according to Ganja Goddess, with their delivery brand operations and cannabis shipping company based in California.
Brands in demand.
So, Kat, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on social media. I'm under Kat Hart, Heart, Katheart. I'm formally Bonsack. I've been changing my name legally. I went through divorce last year and felt like changing my name. So I have a best-selling marijuana book online. I on all social media, and I'm also doing a retreat in May here in Washington. If anybody wants to get some personal FaceTime, for my spiritual services, used to charge upwards of $200 an hour. For $500, people are getting an all-inclusive weekend with not only myself, but 3 other phenomenal, highly acclaimed, one international teachers that are just going to knock your socks off. Weekend that can completely change your life, May 15th, 16th, and 17th in McConnell, Washington. You can get more information at Washington Spiritual Retreats on Facebook. Just literally type in Washington Spiritual Retreats, and you'll see a beautiful fire goddess that gives you a whole bunch of information about the retreat.
And mention the Talking Hedge, and you can get $50 off.
Yeah, your loyal listeners.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Kat Hart. She's a cannabis warrior. She's a spiritual leader. She's a best-selling author. Thanks again for being back on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful for you, Josh. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to spread some love and education to everybody. And I hope you guys live your best life every single day.
Love that. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.